The Late Showgram podcast with Jim Richards is on the iHeartRadio app. You're listening to The Late Showgram with Jim Richards on the iHeartRadio Talk Network.
And you are, and thank you. I am Jim Richards, and we're joined, as we always are, on Thursdays. No, it's not Thursdays. It's Tuesday morning. Listen, you don't even get time zones, so don't get mad at me for not getting the days right. You don't know about days either, David. I think we've been over this.
I don't know about how weeks work. I know how days work.
You don't know about this is next.
Yeah. Please don't get him started, Natasha.
Yeah.
And David Cooper is with us as well.
I am. And of course, we do our segment we do every Monday night into Monday morning. Oops, I dated again. Were we talking about dating in the last segment? No, we were talking about breast milk, but we promised our listenership, what was left of it at least, that we won't talk about that anymore. So about the breast milk, no, we've got other topics to cover. You know, of course, yesterday we were off, Natasha. It was Canadian Thanksgiving, and Jim was doing a segment earlier about what he was grateful for, and I want to put you on the spot. Is there anything in the great Canadian tradition that you're grateful for, Natasha?
Wait, sorry, is there anything in the Canadian tradition that I'm grateful for?
No, me asking you in the great
okay, got it. So I was going to say, I love a boot.
You love a boot. Okay, she loves boots. She likes all kinds of shoes. Sorries, okay, great game.
Love those. Okay, sorry, let me focus. What am I grateful for? Friends, love the friends that I have. Very good friends.
Friends
Make
and love.
me happy. Let me stay at their houses for indefinite periods of time. That's pretty cool.
That is.
And that's what you're doing
friends,
now?
Yeah, I don't have a plane flight back. I'm just here.
Just crashing. I always tell people they're welcome to stay in my home for as long as they want for up to 3 days. That's what I tell people.
That's smart.
So, okay, well, that's what you're grateful for. I'll get into what I'm grateful for when you leave. I don't want to bore you to tears with it, Natasha, but I do have some questions for you, which I know you like. We all know, Natasha. If there's two things she likes, it's a strong nose on a man and a good question.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I've been working on because my therapist told me about an advice for dealing with my dude and his question problem.
Okay.
Her advice was, sorry, I interrupted that you were going to ask.
No, this is much better. Go ahead.
Okay. Let me see if I can pull it up in my task management app because that's where I take notes from my therapist.
So you're just taking notes on an app while you're in your therapist session?
I ask for action items. You know.
Okay, so you're treating your therapist like a tech startup. What are our action items? What are the action items today at the tech company? Okay. Check.
So she knows that I've told him in general to ask me more questions, but she thinks we need to be specific and tell him to ask me questions about the things that I say.
Okay.
So if I say a thing, I say afterwards, what would make me feel listened to in this moment would be if you were curious and asked follow-up questions. So now when I've been talking to him, I'll say a thing and I'll say, do you have questions about that? And I did that today, and he laughed, and I'm like, why are you laughing? And he's like, because I know I'm not asking enough questions.
Yeah.
What if, it's kind of nice. You guys are bonding through working through this together. If he just showed up as a great question asker, I feel like you might have gotten bored of him.
No.
Okay. That's why I'm not paid. Go ahead.
Why do you think why do you think you keep on attracting guys who aren't asking questions? Is that something that's particular to you, or is it always been like a lack of question guy?
I think it is a problem endemic to most men. You will hear that from most women on the dating scene who say men don't ask them questions. And I do think I attract a very specific brand of men with poor emotional intelligence. Either because it makes me feel very safe, because I'll never respect them enough.
Yeah.
That makes you feel safe? Not respecting the man you're dating makes you feel safe?
Oh, how can I ever get really attached to this guy when he can't even do this thing?
Do you think the perfect question asker, what you would be you would find too nice or too attentive, and then you might not like them? Do you think that would happen?
I think I would feel very vulnerable having someone be as effective at getting stuff out of me as I am about getting stuff out of a partner.
Would you be worried that he was asking questions to somebody else?
No.
Jealousy? Oh, you're out with her asking her questions. Are you asking her questions as well as you ask me? No. Okay. Yeah. This is why I'm not a therapist.
Are you asking questions on the side?
Are you asking other people questions?
Why did you ask the waitress what was in that? Why are you asking so many questions about the entree?
What are you trying to do?
You don't care what's inside of me.
Well done, Jim. Okay. Good. All right. I've got my questions tonight aren't very good. I've been kicking this one down the curb for a while, but I haven't asked it. I've mentioned it to you guys. You've never liked it, but I've got it tonight. Natasha, what is the most embarrassing comment someone has made to you after sex? Boom, there's a question. There's a fun dating question.
Comments.
Or is it never embarrassing because you're perfect at it?
Embarrassing? Well, this was during sexual stuff. It was very bad. We were doing hand stuff. I was doing hand stuff to him.
Okay.
He has just gotten out of divorce.
I don't know how that's related to the hand stuff, but it will be.
Okay. To a mutual friend of ours, I was friends with all of them. I was doing hand stuff, and at some point, it wasn't doing much, and he said, "Let me just think about how my ex-wife used to do it."
Oh no!
Wow!
Oh, that's so funny.
He said her name. I'm not going to say it on here. But was like, "Let me hear how blah blah used to do
boy.
it." I was like, "Oh."
Wow! And
was that the man who finished too fast? That fast finisher? Oh.
Which one?
Okay. The one you tweeted about and.
No.
Okay. Okay, Jim, you're up. Most embarrassing comment someone has made to you
during sex or after sex?
During,
after. Me, it would be, that I didn't initiate it enough, and I was like, well, I want it all the time. I just didn't want to be such a jerk about it. But
yeah, don't be a creep.
That I didn't initiate it enough, and I was like, okay. But I felt bad because we had been together maybe for, I don't know, 3 months, and I thought things were going well, so I don't know, is that embarrassing? I was quite embarrassed by that.
Yeah, it's sort of like embarrassing in a mature way, Jim. It's not embarrassing in a silly way. It's not in the gutter like me and Natasha.
It's not highbrow. Like, hey, let me remember how my ex-wife used to do it. Yeah.
No,
yeah, I understand.
That's did it kill the mood, or did you guys finish up what you were doing?
Me?
Yeah, I'm back on the ex-wife thing.
I was bad, and I was like, I'm going to process this later. I continued doing what I was doing.
Okay.
And then after the event, I shut down, and then I cried.
Oh, boy. Okay.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because that's how I function. I'm kind of a freeze.
But that's probably not like a youth. That's, yeah, okay. I don't know.
A freeze and cry, a classic Natasha move.
What about you, David? I have a feeling, is it IBS related?
You got a good one.
It's not IBS related. I have one for me and a bonus. I have one from my girlfriend, which she'll probably kill me if she hears me telling this, so hopefully she doesn't. I got told that my private parts were, and I quote, beautiful and slender, Jim.
Beautiful and slender.
Beautiful and slender.
What was the embarrassing part? The slender part, I guess.
I believe the slender. She commented that it was slender and perfect for a certain act where if you're slender, it's an effective...
it's useful.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I've never gotten that before, but, I'm not surprised. Any follow-up questions on that one, Natasha?
Surprised.
Beautiful is very kind.
Beautiful.
I think it's aesthetic. Is it large? Eye of the beholder. And
it's beautiful. That's really nice.
Some beholders' eyes have magnifying glasses in front of them, and for them, I am quite large. With Miranda, my lovely girlfriend, who is infinitely patient, which is something I am grateful for on this Thanksgiving, her infinite patience. We were doing the old thing, and I was going to do, something onto her that involved, my head moving downward. And She said, not tonight. I've had a really big dinner. And then about 5 minutes later, we had to stop having sex because she farted. That's
Well, I got the fart one. That's happened to me before.
But now it's a joke whenever we are gassy. We tell each other as a code word for we can't do sex. We tell each other we had a big dinner, whether we did or not. That's the loving tenderness that came from that. Natasha, you look...
Yeah.
I know I'm most embarrassing.
Okay, this is the moment we've all been waiting for. We just have about a minute and a half here, Natasha. Let's get through it.
We were about to do the sex. He was behind me. He was about to do the thing from behind. But then he freezes, and I'm like, what's up? And he was looking at my butt, and he was like, I think you have a growth. And I was like, what? And he takes a picture of it so I can see it.
Oh,
so
no.
I'm like, what do you mean? And it was a hemorrhoid. And
that's the short version of how you got a donut pillow.
That's really funny.
It was awful.
So he played hemorrhoid doctor instead of romantic partner. Wow, that's embarrassing. I got to say.
Rough. We broke up a few weeks later.
Yeah, you have to at that point.
You have to.
Yeah. Either that or move out of the country or something.
Yeah.
Natasha Vinnick will be here next Monday night into Tuesday morning. She is a very famous TikTok celebrity for all you people who have TikTok.
I just followed you, Natasha, on Twitter. I don't think I'd been following you before.
Yeah, I saw you just finally follow me back, Jim.
I'm sorry.
At Natasha Vinnick, that is VINIK. Natasha, thank you for being here with your infinite
Thanks
wisdom.
for having me.
I am grateful for you on the show every week, but especially this week on Canadian Thanksgiving.
Yay. Thanks, guys.
Okay.
Thank you. Back in a moment with David Cooper here on the Nighttime Friendly.
Now back to the Late Showgram with Jim Richards on the iHeartRadio Talk Network.
We had some touching moments earlier in the show from some people, actually brushes with death. I think I'm going to continue that in a couple of minutes' time. David Cooper is with us right now from San Francisco. But we had some touching, not as many as I wanted, people telling us what they're grateful for on Thanksgiving, or the way I should have put it, thankful for on Thanksgiving. Because, David, have you always been a kind of a grateful or a thankful person, or is it something that you kind of just learnt with time and with therapy and that sort of thing?
I wish I could say it's the first one, but it's the second. I think it takes practice, and I wasn't taught it. At least I don't think I was taught it. My mom called me ungrateful a lot, but I don't know if I had any good examples of what being gracious meant. But I
think it should be taught, though. I think that's a good point. I mean, I think whether it's meditation, mindfulness, at some point, I think that stuff should be taught. Those are kind of life tools. And I know so many people are like, well, just reading, writing, and arithmetic and get your left-wing agenda out of the schools and that sort of stuff. I don't think, being grateful and teaching people how to be happy and all those things are left or right or airy-fairy or whatever you want to call them. I think these are, when you're young, these tools can be, because it's a process and it's a way you think. And if you learn how to think, I think that would just handle so many things when it comes to mental health, especially that I think with these things and social media that younger generation is really kind of going to be, have way more problems in terms of mental health than this generation does, or your generation does.
I agree. I think my last therapist is the one who helped me the most with learning how to be grateful and appreciative. Instead of focusing on the negative, focus on what you have to be happy for, or at least be mindful of it. Don't focus overly on the negative. And in those moments when you feel let down, hurt, disappointed, just remember that there's a lot of things in your life to be thankful for. Definitely, I'm thankful for her for teaching me that. But I did reflect on it earlier in the show when I was listening to you talk about it. And there's a few things I'm grateful for, Jim. I'm going to share them with you whether you like it or not. And I'm grateful that you're going to let me do that. Well, are you going to let me do that? We don't know. We can't know until it starts.
Yeah, I think it's done because I have no way to kill 7 minutes. So you go ahead.
So Jim's grateful for my ability to kill 7 minutes. No, I'm grateful I get to do what I love 5 nights a week with you. Sometimes it's easier to focus on what could be better, to focus on my failures, like I was saying. But the fact is, last December, I quit my job with 0 prospects, and I'm grateful I get to be on the air here every night, and that I have the beginnings of some really good work, radio work in New York. And Jim, I'm grateful I get to work with you, to learn from someone with as much as experience and talent and likability as you, Jim. How
That
about
is very kind of you, David. And I know
I'm
you'll have some sort of joke at the end of this to kind of pull that back, but continue.
I can't believe you just stepped on my punchline, Jim. Unbelievable. I'm just going to do it anyway. It would have been a perfectly executed joke. I'm grateful for my ability to lie to people's faces, for example, convincing them that I'm grateful to work with them. No, I'm grateful for
I have an ability to sense fake insincerity and et cetera, et cetera. But continue.
You know, Jim, when you're in the biz, you can spot the punchlines, but people listening, they don't always see them coming. So what's obvious to you might not be obvious to them. Just because it's bad joke structure on my part doesn't mean you should ruin it for everyone else. I am grateful for my lovely girlfriend, her patience, both in letting me talk about her all the time, but also, like, I keep terrible hours, and that really messes with her sleep, and she's been very patient about that. And when she started dating me, I didn't do comedy. Like, I didn't go to my first stand-up open mic. I didn't do my first radio show. I did that after I met her. So she didn't sign up for this, you know?
And she supported you through all of that.
Yeah, she did, and continues to. And I'm grateful my family's in good health. You know, a best friend of mine recently lost his mom. I'm not going to get into that. He's a private guy. But it has made me reflect on...
Close friend, I take it.
Yeah, like my best friend.
Yeah.
And he likes to be left out of the radio. Probably I shouldn't even have said that, but I have reflected on my family. We've had some health things over the last few years, one of my siblings in particular, but everyone seems to be doing pretty well now, so I'm grateful for that. And that's it, Jim. That's my list. Do you want to talk about the wedding I went to, or do you want to address that?
Yeah, I mean, you were not looking forward to it, and sometimes these things can be way worse in our heads, but I have a feeling that this one might not have been worse in your head, that maybe it was worse than you even could think.
No, it was fine. I just don't like any weddings. But I did get credit from somebody. I was talking about this wedding, and I talked about it, and then I didn't see him. And then a few days later, I saw him again, and I mentioned the wedding. And just in passing, I said it was a lesbian wedding. And my friend got really mad because he's like, I can't believe you didn't brag about that. You know, I'm jealous that you're at a place in your life where you're not bragging about going to a lesbian wedding, because that is a flex. That is like that's a flex.
Though? Is it still?
I mean, I've been to a gay wedding, but not a lesbian one. My friends seem to think so, but it was fun. I wasn't the best boyfriend there. I made a wisecrack into my girlfriend's ear when the bride started marching, and my girlfriend did not like that at all.
What was the wisecrack? You don't want to share.
I don't want to disclose because she got so... I still think it wasn't a big deal, but she got so upset. And then I wouldn't dance. I didn't want to dance. The dance floor was pretty much empty, and the thought of it made me very uncomfortable, and she got upset.
I just seen you as a guy who doesn't give a flying F about what other people would think.
It was more for me. I was just picturing myself watching myself dance with my awkward moves, and I just couldn't do it. It required alcohol to do, and I didn't want to drink. I don't drink, and so I didn't do it. But upon reflection, I would have danced.
Would you have danced if you were still drinking?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah. Not only that, I would have rallied everyone else to dance. I would have gone up to old people and dragged them to the dance floor. It was all outdoors, but there was still a lovely dance floor. But it was fun, you know. I met someone at the wedding who I think is going to call in later this week. I met a guy whose dad's first wife, not his mom, but his sort of dad's first wife, her name was Lisa Cox. And his dad divorced this woman and met his mom and his mom's name. And this is not a joke. He showed me photographic evidence, and his girlfriend corroborated the story. Unrelated, married a second Lisa Cox, and his mother is the second. Yes.
Wow.
And the man has quite the tale about the two Lisa Coxes. So I'm hoping he'll call. And I thought, you know what? Not so bad. And then as I started talking to people at this wedding, I started like telling my anecdotes and my stories. And I realized I have things that I haven't said to you, Jim. And so I just started taking notes. And I'm like, oh my God, I have so much to say that I've never said on the air. So maybe it was a good exercise in going. Maybe I'm glad I go. You know, when you talk to people and do things, it really is the best way to come up with content.
You remember stories of all the different things that has happened in your life. Well, that's good. We look forward to that over the next little while.
Yeah, it was nice to support my girlfriend. You know, she really wanted me there. I still don't know why. But I went. You have met up with. You must, if your girlfriend's coming back. She's leaving what, tomorrow? She's leaving tomorrow morning. Yeah. So
she's leaving tomorrow morning. Guy who didn't want to go is going to stick around for a couple more days to hang out with friends.
Well, it's a big schlep. It's 6.5 hours there and 5.5 hours back because of the jet stream. And it's just a long way. And I lived here for 10 years. So I want to see if I'm here. It hasn't been long enough for me to visit. I wanted some time away. Like, it doesn't feel nostalgic or anything like that. It doesn't feel like I've really left yet. It's kind of the same as it was, you know. I waited a year after I moved away from Toronto to visit. And when I did, it really felt like I was visiting having left. Yeah. And I was kind of looking forward to that. But now that I'm here, I want to see some people and do some things. So that's why I'm staying.
Tony, I hate to put you on the spot. What was that poll again? Who wants to drink breast milk?
Who would drink breast milk?
And
I think we got about 2 and 2 so far. So it's pretty tied.
You're not supposed to say 2 and 2. You're just supposed to say 50-50.
Yeah, we got 200 and 200.
Yeah,
Tony, what would you do? Because I was yes, Natasha was yes, Jim is no.
Not something I've ever really thought about trying, to be honest, and I probably wouldn't.
David,
no.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, we had 2 and 2. Yes on the show, and no on the show. And then, Jim, what were you going to say?
I was going to say we have to run along.
Yeah, we do.
Yep, it is past time, and we look forward to talking to you tomorrow.
All right, I'll be here.
All right.
Thanks, Jim.
Enjoy the early evening finish. I'm Jim Richards. It is the Late Night Showgram.
You're listening to The Late Showgram with Jim Richards on the iHeartRadio Talk Network.
You sure are, and thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it. And don't forget, you can follow the Showgram on podcast form, wherever you get your podcasts. We hope you try to get them from the iHeartRadio app. And it's the Jim Richards Showgram. That's where you can find all the content with David and myself, and all of the interviews that we do, and all of the shenanigans that are there as well. So the Jim Richards Showgram, that is how you find it. And we appreciate your time. Listen, I wanted to go. We had one great phone call and a whole bunch of them piling up just before we did the news at 1 o'clock, and I thought we would revisit that topic. It was my story of, I was in Northern Ontario. When I say Northern, it's probably not Northern Ontario. It's Central Ontario. It's known as Cottage Country. It's the Muskokas for people who have heard that before, but it's about 2.5 hours north of Toronto. And these winding, hilly roads, and someone in oncoming traffic decided that they were going to pass, even though there was a straight line and you're not supposed to pass. So what I get is me doing the speed limit in my lane, and I'm about to come across a hill, and this person decides to pass on a hill in an area where you shouldn't be doing that. I end up slamming on the brakes and going a little bit onto the shoulder, which is gravel, but 2 wheels are still on the pavement. And so I swerve to avoid this driver. The driver who was getting passed slams on his brake, and the driver who was passing, who was in my oncoming lane, he finally pulls in and probably missed me by, I don't know, it seemed like 6 feet. And 6 feet when you're doing the speed limit, in this case, it probably would have been about 60 kilometers an hour. It seems like next to nothing. Now, hey, who knows? Maybe that's just the way that I processed it. But it's one of those things where you had to kind of pull over. You had to gather your senses and take a couple of deep breaths before you continue on. So I'm sure you have a good story. There are people out there, drivers, if you are, I don't know, an Uber driver, if you're a truck driver, a delivery driver, police officer. Doesn't have to be a driving story, but I want to talk about your brushes with death. The one guy was hit by a drunk driver who we heard just before the news about an hour ago, was hit by a drunk driver in a dump truck. And this guy, they thought that he was as good as dead. He ended up surviving and still walks with a bit of a limp, but is very grateful. So, what is your brush with death? 1-855-633-1010. 1-855-633-1010. What is your brush with death? Alan in Ottawa has been, you haven't been holding on, but I do appreciate you calling back, Alan. Go ahead.
Well, I was painting the second-story windows of a large complex, and it was raining, and the ladder went out from underneath me.
Oh, so when you said you were, so it's not on one of those, you're not on one of those harnesses hanging from the top of the building. You were using,
no,
yeah, okay,
ladder.
Okay.
The ladder goes boop, and I hit the cement. My leg was about 4 times the size in about 10 seconds. I broke my ankle in 6 places. They had to take out part of my hip and put it in my ankle. And that hurt even worse than the accident did. And I was in a wheelchair for 6 months, crutches for 6 months. Now I can walk normally, but that was about 10 years ago.
Oh, wow. You didn't hit your head. You're kind of lucky you didn't hit your head, aren't you?
Yep. That's why I'm grateful.
Yeah, that is it. How many floors up would you have been?
Second floor.
Second floor. And
Yeah.
that happened 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Brush with death. Alan, thank you very much for your phone call. Appreciate it, from Ottawa.
You're welcome.
All right. That'll free up a line, folks. We're talking brushes with death. I don't know. Maybe it could even... One of the most powerful phone calls I think we've ever received is Susan when she called. And Susan was a caller who is battling cancer, and nobody knows. I don't even know if Susan is her real name. But nobody knows. She hasn't told anybody. And so I'm guessing that every day that you live, Susan, if you're listening, is kind of, in many ways, a brush with death. 1-855-633-1010. 1-855-633-1010. Rob is in Michigan. Rob, you served in Iraq?
Yeah, but I'm not going to talk about that.
Okay.
Hi, Jim. Hi, Canada. When I was younger, probably about 8 or 9, I was walking out on the ice in the middle of nowhere. We had a marshy area, and I went through, and the water was about up to my chin. I mean, it wasn't over my head, but every time I tried to climb out, the ice kept breaking, and it took me, I don't know, it took me probably a good 20 minutes. I should have got hypothermia. And then when I got home, I got yelled at.
Yeah, that's one of those situations where you need to be rescued by a fire department sometimes. And your dad was just angry that you journeyed out onto the water without knowing that it was frozen? Or?
Oh, there was my mom, and she was just mad because my clothes were all wet and wondered why I hadn't come home for hours. Well, because I nearly died.
Yeah.
Well, your shoes are ruined. Now I have to buy you new shoes.
Yeah. How long do you think you were battling to get out of there?
It seemed like, at least 15, 20 minutes. It probably wasn't quite that long, but it was a while. So
yeah, no, well, when you're a kid, 20 minutes probably seems like 3 hours. Can I just ask you one thing?
Sure.
I thought you were going to tell us a story from Iraq. You said you didn't want to talk about that. Is that, I still haven't phoned you because I wanted to do a segment, Ask Somebody Who Served in Iraq Anything. Is it because there's too much stuff that you don't want to revisit in your head?
Well, listen, for this, I don't know. When I call you, I kind of like to keep it lighthearted.
Yep.
But I mean, if you want to specifically question me about stuff,
well, maybe on another night. Well, maybe on another night. I always appreciate your phone calls, Rob. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Rob is in Michigan listening to us on our fabulous. That's me not knowing how to work the phones. Anybody else should not think what is going on. It's just I don't know how to work the phones. But Rob listens to us in Windsor, and we appreciate that. 1-855-633-1010. We're asking about your brushes with death, and we'll try to keep this going until the top of the hour. 1-855-633-1010. What is your brush with death? What about you? Greg is in Ajax. Greg?
Hi, Jim. Back when I was in my early teens, I was in Army Cadets.
Yep.
And we're up at Borden for a weekend of shooting. And the targets are raised by people, like we're sitting in concrete bunkers.
Mm-hmm.
And while the target's up, I'm sitting on the bench there. And the sun came out, so I moved over on the bench a bit to get into the sunlight. And less than 2 minutes, ricochet came in.
Oh, boy.
I would have caught her right in the face where I was sitting.
Oh, boy.
And it would have, if not dead, I would have been seriously messed up.
So it's like seconds or minutes that you could have been hit by a ricochet.
Yeah.
Anybody get yelled at because of that?
No.
No? Unpredictable ricochet.
One of those rare things where the bullet hit the steel frame instead of the paper target.
Yeah.
It just came in and...
Jeez. That is a good brush with death. Certainly is. Greg and Ajax, thank you very much. Great call. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right. You okay? You good? Greg?
Pardon?
Are you okay?
Oh, yeah, just got a little cough in my throat.
Okay. Feel better. I thought somebody was choking up. And, it is Thanksgiving, and I think a lot of people, and I'm not saying this about Greg, but a lot of people lonely on holidays, and I wanted to open up the phones earlier on that if people need somewhere to talk. But your brushes with death, 1-855-633-1010. More of your phone calls are on the way on the showgram.
Listening to The Late Showgram with Jim Richards on the iHeartRadio Talk Network.
And that is true. I was talking about a drive on a hilly road north of Toronto, about 2.5 hours north of Toronto. Oncoming traffic. Guy's not supposed to pass, and he decides to pass while he's going up a hill. He comes over the hill, and he's in my lane, and I ended up swerving mostly off the road. 2 tires still on the road, mostly in the shoulder on the gravel, and the person he was passing slams on his brakes, and then the guy who almost killed us all swerves back in. I stay pulled over, gather my senses, and we're wondering if you've ever had a brush with death. In Toronto, here's PC. Go ahead, PC.
Hello, I've had 2. One was similar to yours, you were just talking about, and that was coming back from way up north. And this guy was doing funny things, so I passed him. And then he would stop and start, slam on his brakes. It's in the wintertime. It's terrible weather out.
Yeah.
And so I thought, okay, I'm just going to stop or slow down. And I hit a patch of ice, ended up in the ditch. My mother was okay, but I broke my wrist. And I sunk out to I sort of left my body and then came back and then trying to get out of my seatbelt, and that I sunk out to my neck in ice water.
Oh, no, really?
Kind of thing. I mean, the whole day was, from everything and anything that could go wrong. I mean, the car that we had, the windshield wipers were wrong, and then the second one we got in, I think, in North Bay, the steering wheel was power, but had problems, so it had to work, and it wouldn't, you had to really pull it, and that's how
These are rentals?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other time, I was only a kid, like probably between 4 and 6, and I was pushed away from the edge of the water, and I went under a couple of times, and how they say your life flashes in front of you, it didn't flash in front of me, but it was beautiful, beautiful stuff. And then somebody grabbed me
What
from the
happened?
side and
What happened?
pulled me back in, and so I didn't drown. But it's just you when they say you have flashes, when it's close to, especially if you're drowning, you see things. I didn't see my life, but I saw some beautiful stuff.
Do you remember what it was?
So,
Do you remember what it was?
Things, those are the ones that stick out. But
but do you remember what those things that you saw were?
I just thought, oh, geez, why did you pull me? All I can remember is thinking, geez, why did you pull me back? That was so beautiful. I can't remember, but I just can remember it being beautiful. And the one where I went out of body in my when the car accident I was looking down at the accident.
Wow.
And then I went back, and then I was worried about my mother because she'd had cancer and radiation treatment. And fortunately, which it didn't, as I say, this was the second car, it didn't have a seatbelt on her side. If it had the seatbelt, it probably would have done damage because she had it in the breast and the side kind of thing. So that would have weakened her rib cage, so she didn't, get hurt. But she was worried. My arm had a U. My arm was in a U shape.
Oh.
Kind of thing.
Yikes.
So it was just like I thought, okay, what next? I mean, it was like the whole morning from the time we got up, there was one thing after another, and I kind of went, okay, nothing can get worse than this kind of thing, and so.
PC, thank you for your phone call.
Thank you, and
Appreciate
happy Thanksgiving, and happy Thanksgiving to all you people, all the people listening, and all the people that are alone today.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. For people who are alone.
Care and have a nice
Thank you, PC. Should I have asked her if she was alone? I'm not sure. Brushes with Death. Thanks. This is a different call, but still a good call. Go ahead, Alex. Brushes with Death.
Hey, Kimberly. Good morning. Halloween, 1989. I still remember it. It was after midnight, so I guess technically All Souls Day. Walking on Queen Street West in Toronto, just past Old City Hall, staggering really westbound, and a guy dressed as a Grim Reaper was staggering eastbound, and he actually bumped into me, so I had a literal brush with death.
Alex, good to hear from you, by the way. What are you doing up?
I work nights, Jimmy. That's why I'm actually really, really, really grateful that you are on the air at night. I mean, it's like a breath of fresh air, and a lot of us really appreciate it.
Well, that's very kind of you. Always good to hear from you. Thank you very much. Drive safely.
Thanks, Jim. Good night.
All right. And finally, that was a good joke, I think. Kenneth, go ahead. In Lachine, we appreciate your phone call. Kenneth, Brush with Death.
Okay, this is a traffic-related thing to prevent a major accident. The car is coming from one side of TransCanada to the other over an overpass.
Yep.
And at the bottom, this lady's and her daughter's car stalled, but there's still no shoulder because it's a curve.
Mm-hmm.
So I run back and wave the big trucks because I knew at 10 o'clock all the traffic is going to the shopping center. I'm waving them over, and I came within like 10 feet of getting run over by the truck.
Ugh.
If he would have ran me over, he would have smashed that car up. How serious it was. On the opposite side comes the Transport Quebec guy with the signals.
Yep.
He was in a panic. He just rolls over the other side of the highway and pushes the car out of the way, and he says, "Oh my God, we almost all got killed here, all of us, all four of us."
What were the conditions again?
A car was going from south to north to go over to the other side of the TransCanada Highway to access the road going westbound.
No, I understand that, but it sounds like it was really icy. Is that what you're saying?
No, the car stalled in the curve.
Oh, I see.
It was a blind spot, and there still was no shoulder yet.
Oh, yeah.
She was like 20 feet short of the shoulder. So I parked my truck on the service road, ran up and waved the big 45 truckers and the cars to move over because I knew at 10 o'clock everybody's going to go shopping and deliveries.
Yeah.
So I'm waving them over. And finally, the Transport Quebec guy with the signals comes over, and he says, "I haven't got time, Larry." He pushes the car ahead to get on the shoulder, and we just missed getting all smashed to bits.
Crazy story, Kenneth. Thank you very much. That is quite the brush with death.
Yeah. Okay, bye.
Appreciate it. Happy Thanksgiving. When PC called there, Tony, do you think the PC was alone? I should have done more of that kind of programming. The the heartstrings programming, the tugging at the heartstrings is what I should have done. Right?
Of course.
Woo-hoo. This turkey. What a lot of. We could have done like who's the biggest turkey? Is it Trudeau? Is it Jason?
Wow.
Is
We
it
could have
Jason
done that.
Kenney?
We could have done that. Yeah.
That would have been great content. Phone calls. Who is the country's biggest turkey? Pardon me? Man, you can't say that on the radio. Whoa, unbelievable. All right, straight
Come
ahead.
on, man. You're making me hungry.
Mohammed Faki is going to join us in a couple of seconds' time. He's got quite the story. He is the man behind Paramount Foods, but I always admire this guy because he is so positive in the face of a lot of the things that he has had to go through. That is next on the Late Night Showgram.
Listen live and local to The Late Showgram with Jim Richards. Weeknights starting at midnight on the iHeartRadio Talk Network.